What's going on, everybody? Good evening, Mike. I hope you're doing well tonight. Uh, I'm really excited about tonight's show. We're going to be talking with Michael Gonzalez about his project and some of his inspirations and, how he got into comics, because that's what we do here. We like to talk about people's inspirations and find out, where their origins are, how they started, what they originally wanted to do, and how they followed that detour in life to get to where they're at. Because we've all had that story, and it's great to get to know that and what other creators are into. So we're going to start off tonight with our sponsors as usual. First of all, I want to talk about the auction that is happening Friday, August 6th. That is this Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central, from Thursday Night Throwdown, Friday Night Draw. You can look up that group. It's also tagged in the top of my page as well as my personal page. Guys, we're going to be auctioning off artwork. We've got 4 paintings from Michael Gonzalez's daughter. We've got her comic book as well as the Pokemon card that she created that will be auctioned off. We got several things of original art, some really cool stuff, rare comic books, and Rodney Fike and Andre Osh will be drawing sketch cards live that you guys will be able to bid on and purchase as well. I'm really excited about this. We're going to raise a lot of money for kids and a lot of money for CB4K, and that's what it's all about. It's all about the kids. So first off, we're going to talk about Hazzum Productions, which is Rodney Fike and Tina. Check out his book Pitter Patter 2, which is live on Kickstarter now with only a few days left, as well as check out Thursday Night Throwdown, Friday Night Draw, where him and Sean Forney have a sketch-off battle, and that's where the auction will be going from. We also have Melone Management with Lisa Malone. Do you have a project, a Kickstarter, an Indiegogo, anything that's running? Hit up Lisa Malone. She will give you a free 1-hour consultation. She can take care of all that stuff on the back end while you finish creating your project, as far as sharing and getting the word out there, working on finding places to get your stretch goals and all that good stuff. What's going on, Grant? How you doing, buddy? Yeah, pitter patter. Let's get at her. That's right. And we've got 183 Degree Studios with Alfred Trujillo, Doobie Doobie Doo, and Miss AZ Power Girl, Kara and Nicole. Check out 183degreestudio.com to get original art from Alfred Trujillo, as well as their Patreons with the links above. And we've got Codex Entertainment LLC with Lily the Demoness and Whispers in Necropolis, Nebula Pearl, and Ace and Starlet. Lily the Demoness Chapter 5 funded on Kickstarter here, I guess, about a week ago. So that project's no longer running, but check out their awesome projects at Codex Entertainment and the link above in the description. We got Naughty Fairies with Wendy Shaner. Check out their Etsy page and get caught up on all that Naughty Fairy goodness. Got some really cool stuff coming on that I am actually working on. I will be writing a story for and doing the art for. So I'm really excited about this because the kids and I are all going to be making the story, and you guys are going to love it. It's going to be really cool. Can't wait to show you guys what's going on. Got Outpost 426 Studios with Scorpiana 3 live on Kickstarter right now. Check out the other projects, Into the Suck, and we got Nebula. Black Rabbit will be launching later on this year. And our final sponsor for the night is DPopp Customz. You have a print that's just laying around. You want to jazz it up. You really love this print, and it's awesome. Check out DPopp Customz. He'll make a custom frame for you, light it up, and all that greatness. And you can throw it on the wall and cherish it forever. So, guys, thanks so much for being here. We're going to bring out our guest tonight, Michael Gonzalez, which I'm really excited to talk to you about because we'll get into that with the CB4K thing. We'll talk about that for a little bit. So let's welcome Michael. What's going on?
What's up, everybody? Hey.
Oh, man, it's a Sunday night. Everybody's gearing up, getting ready for work. I mean, I just got done putting my uniforms in the wash. I'm like, man, I gotta go back to work tomorrow. Monday's usually my day off, but with the car situation, I was like, I'm gonna work my day off, try to, get stuff taken care of and all that goodness.
Yeah, I don't know nothing about that. I've been unemployed for like a year.
Oh, dude, that's terrible.
Yeah, it is.
So I'm really excited, man. First off, I want to thank you for donating art. You donated 4 paintings and the comic book that your daughter has created, as well as the Pokemon card, which is the Agents of Shh. And I love it because, I put it out there on Facebook. I was like, hey, are there any creators that, want to donate anything to auction off for the kids? And the outcry from the indie creators was great. And you had reached out to me and you said, hey, would anybody be interested in this book? And, we chatted a little bit and you're like, hey, I want to, would they be cool with me matching books for CB4K? So I kind of want to get that out there for everybody. First of all, this Kickstarter is phenomenal. The story looks really good. But this Agents of book is available as a $2 add-on on the
Yes.
project. So if you buy 5 of those for $10, and he's going to donate 5 copies to cb4k.org, and you can even message Michael and say, "Hey, Michael, I want you to donate the 5 that I bought." So then he's donating $10. This is a great cause. CB4K is something near and dear to my heart. I don't really want to like go on and on about it because I talk about it all the time on here. But if anybody has any questions about it, you can always message me. But I definitely want to tell them thank you for they should be getting here Wednesday. I got some paintings in the comic book that we'll be auctioning off for the kids. But definitely love the fact that you were able to talk to Mark, which is the owner of CB4K, and
Yeah.
you've also got a box of damaged, more adult books that you
Yeah.
were in talks with him about donating for the troops side, the comic books for troops.
Yes. Yeah, because I mean, this is something that I've thought about for a long time because, I don't have a lot of money, so just donating money isn't really possible. So I figured, I have things that maybe I can give that might, kids might like or soldiers might like. So last year when I printed up um, some copies of Neotheric, some of them, like 25 of them, got damaged. And I don't know how they got damaged because the outside of the box was fine, but inside they were kind of damaged. And so I was saying, well, what can I do with them? And I'd heard about, people donating books to troops and stuff before. So I thought, well, maybe this is something I could do. And, I'm an Army brat. I grew up, my dad was a Vietnam vet. My grandfather fought in World War II. My grand uncle, which is my grandmother's older brother, was killed in Korean War. So we're a military family. Grew up with GI Joe was my favorite thing ever, and so I always figured, I wanted to do something like that for the troops. So, and I'd actually searched for this, but I could never find anybody that did it or that wanted like comic books or graphic novels. It was always just novels and books. And so then when I saw your posts on there, I was like, wow, oh my God, this is exactly the kind of thing. And then it so happened, turn out that my daughter had just finished this first little mini comic of hers. And I thought, wow, that would be great. Is not only giving kids a book that's for kids, but it's made by a kid. So it might have a little extra, I don't know, something to it for the kids to say, like, wow, this is cool. Another kid did this. Maybe I can do this too. And they can get into comics. Because that's the other thing is, a lot of people are talking about, especially recently, it's about, in
Decline.
comic books, yeah, there's, the readership, the people that are buying comics is getting older. The demographics is mostly, it's like our age, we grew up with comics and we still do it. And there's not as many, supposedly, I don't really know, but supposedly there's not as many younger people getting into comic books. So, I've been trying to get my kids into comic books, taking them to conventions, showing them comic books, just giving them, basically forcing comic books on them, say, hey, this is awesome, you got to read this. And they finally sort of gotten into it. Now when I go to the comic book store, they'll run right to the kids section and start looking for books. When before, I had to say, do you want this? This looks pretty cool. Don't you think you should want it? And my daughter before, she'd be like, no, I don't want that. But now now she likes it. And like a couple of months ago, she just came up to me and she was like, hey Dad, can I make my own comic book? I was, of course you can. So, we talked about her idea, and I helped her kind of like flesh it out, and then, come up with the basic concept. And so she went and she drew it, and then we, scanned it in and just cleaned up the artwork a little bit and did the lettering, did the coloring, and we're printing this at home. So I got one of those Eco Tank printer things, so we can print a lot of without using so much ink and stuff. It doesn't cost that much, and so we're printing this out at home. And we try to use like good paper. The cover is like 32-pound paper. The inside is 28 pound. So it's nicer paper. It's not just regular, like typing paper. And it's a 12-page story, saddle stitched comic, and we do this out here, and
That's
yeah,
absolutely beautiful, man.
yeah.
I
So
love that. It's really cool. That is a huge achievement. Just how old is she?
she's 9 years old.
9 years old, and
Yeah,
she's drawn and written her first comic book, and she made a Pokemon card to go with it, which is
yeah,
really cool.
yeah. So we thought. So the concept of the book is that these characters or sorry, start over. The concept is like there are these items, these mysterious, mystical objects that are hidden all over the world, and they can, if you find them, you can use them for either good or evil purposes. So they have to go find these objects and secure them
For
before a bad guy goes and uses them for something. So usually what happens is a bad guy will get this and use it, and then they have to go stop him and then get it, and then they put the let me see, they put the object inside of this little, what they call the Museum of Mystical Objects, Momo, and they store it in there so it's safely secured, like at the end of Indiana Jones, where he takes all the the ark and puts it in the what you call it, the warehouse.
Yep.
So that's let me get this stupid thing to focus.
There
Okay.
it goes. But
Yeah.
yeah, no,
So
that's awesome.
yeah,
there's nothing like the imagination of a child. I mean,
yeah,
my kids come up with some really crazy stuff. I'm like, hey, because we're working on doing our own comic ourselves, and they're like,
yeah,
let's do this. Like, I'm like, oh
yeah,
my gosh, this is such a crazy idea.
yeah. Yeah, it's kind of, you gotta like try to focus on what the idea is. She was like going, "Oh, they should be this," and then they're spies, and then they're also like secret agents, and then they're also superheroes, and then they're also this. Is a hey, we kind of need to like just focus this a little bit, and make it consistent, make it basically a simple concept, and then you can just keep going. And she's already got like 9 of these planned.
Oh
Already got
man.
like the plots for like 9 of them. So it's a little difficult to keep her on task, to say, I mean, you need to keep working on this book, especially when we haven't really gotten a lot of people to buy them yet, or saying that they're going to back them. The more people do that, then that'll really like get her excited and say, oh man, people really like this, people really want to see it. Well, then she'll really get into it. But it's just like with all of us, whenever we make something, we put it out into the world, and if people don't respond to it, then you get kind of like, oh geez, why am I doing this? So, but if you get like a positive response, then that really gets you invigorated to do it. So, but I'm trying to remind her, keep her doing it, and she's already done the art for the second one. We just have to, finish it up.
Why is this not charging? There we go. All right. Sorry, my low battery came on. I'm like, oh, it's not charging. But so let's talk about you a little bit. So, I love the story about your daughter. This is really great. It's a really huge accomplishment, and I really
Yeah.
hope everybody checks the book out because I think it looks awesome. I'm really excited to get it because I'm definitely going to read it and show it off. Well, what about you? When did you first get into comics? Like, what was your entry into the comic book world?
Well, I was born in like the mid late 70s, so I grew up. My decade was the 80s. Um, I think like when we were little, me and my brother found like this cardboard box of old comics, like Gold Key, those kind of things, like Uncle Scrooge and some of the Western stuff like that, Charlton, all that kind of stuff, Hot Stuff, Richie Rich. We found this big box of comic books, and I think that was the first time we ever saw comic books, and that just got me really interested because I mean it's like the comics are like the perfect medium because you got words and you got pictures combined together, and it's something tangible that you can hold, you can carry with you can keep with you can collect, it can be yours. So it was just something I guess just naturally gravitated towards, and then just and then later on my brother had an older friend, his name was Greg, and he introduced us to this idea of like, hey, if you put this comic book into a bag and put it into a box, keep it nice, this comic that cost you 60 cents might be able to sell it for like $5 later on. You know, when you're a kid and you don't got a lot of money, this would seem like, oh, it's like a lottery ticket or something. You know, like, oh my gosh, I'll be rich later. So that was, then we got into collecting, you know, to kind of taking it more seriously. So that was like a little bit later on, but yeah. So I mean, I just growing up, you know, as soon as I saw it, I love comic books. I love to read them, and you know, like I said, I'm an army brat, so GI Joe is really big. So I collected GI Joe, and you know, I got Captain America. I love Captain America. I collected those, and my brother was collecting all the X-Men books. So we just, you know, went through that, and then you know, I got this weird idea that, you know, maybe I could write them too. And I think it was probably because I read all these stories about like Jim Shooter, who had started writing for DC when he was like 13 years old or something. So I thought, well, man, well, if he can do it, then I can do it. So, and I actually sent some stuff. I think at the time they were called springboards, and sent to Marvel. And it was like a log line, you know, like a short synopsis of a story with like a one-page outline. And I sent a bunch of them to Marvel, and actually got a rejection letter, which I thought was amazing, signed by Stan Lee, but you know, not his actual signature, you know, like a photocopied signature.
Yeah.
But as a kid, I thought that was awesome. That, you know, you actually got a response. But so yeah, so I just been trying, you know, writing and stuff, and really also got into film and television and trying to write for that. And you know, I studied writing, read all the kind of books when I was young, like as a teenager, preteen, all reading all this stuff about trying to become a professional writer. So it's just really into, you know, you got all these ideas in your head and you want to get them out. And, you know, sometimes you get kind of like discouraged because you're not successful with it. And I left it for a long time. But then I got back into it because so I was basically what happened, you know, I tried it when I was a little kid, like as a teenager, and then I kept trying like in my early 20s. I sent a bunch of stuff to Dark Horse, but they rejected everything. And then that's when I kind of gave up and sort of focusing more on film. And and so I pretty much, and I stopped collecting comics too. I just kind of got out of it. I got tired of, you know, Marvel with the everything has to be some big event. You got 1,000 crossovers. You got to buy all these different books, and they're rebooting every character. You know,
Yeah,
and
they do
like
14 issues and then they start over with a number one again.
yeah, like they're still doing now. So, but I, you know, I got tired of it. So I kind of moved towards manga. That's when I got into manga and anime. This is like early 90s. And also like more independent stuff like Dark Horse, because I'm also a big fan of the Alien
Oh
franchise. I
yeah,
like
I
all
was
the
getting ready to
Alien
say,
stuff.
man, aliens and predators.
Yeah. Have you seen the new like Alien stuff that Marvel has?
No, I haven't. One of
Yeah.
the guests I had on a few weeks ago was talking about how good the newest release was.
Well, the series they have, I'm not real too convinced on it. It's kind of, you know, so. But they had like a one shot that just came out, I think last week. It's called Aliens Aftermath, and that was really good. I was really surprised how good that was. But I think it's just a one shot. I don't know how it fits in like the bigger plans they have for it. But yeah, so I was really into, you know, that kind of stuff, and then eventually kind of just totally got out of comics, and I moved to China, and I lived in China for about 10 years, and while I was there, um, I just I was bored. I was working as I work as a motorcycle mechanic, power sports. I do like motorcycles, ATVs, jet skis, all that kind of stuff. And I had gone over there to work with like racing teams and all that kind of stuff. But eventually I got working at this one shop, and they didn't have a lot of work. So I was sitting there, I mean, literally like all week doing nothing. So I just started, well, I found out about like Comixology and this kind of stuff where, you know, you could put your book out digitally and it didn't cost anything because you didn't have to print it. You just had to spend the money to make it. Um, So I thought, well, let me try this one more time. I got all this spare time. I'm sitting here on my ass doing nothing. So let me just like try to come up with something and see how it goes. Just take one last shot at it. And that's when I came up with the story that eventually became the 6-8, the horror comic. And then I just kept going with it. I was like, once you start going with it, then it sort of lights a fire and you can't stop it. You get like 1,000 different ideas. So I did the 6-8, then I did the Neotheric. Then I found out about Mark Millar's website. He used to, I don't know if he still has it, but he used to have a website that had a really good writers forum, and they would do like short stories, and everybody get together. They'd give you like a prompt and say, write a story, a 5-page story or whatever about such and such. And then, so everybody would write something, and in a couple of weeks you get it in, and then they would sort of judge it, have a little contest to see who they picked and thought was the best one. But so doing that, I really focused on the craft of writing, like how to tell a compelling story in just a few pages, and learning about how people like Mark Millar and Alan Moore all got started with that. So I wrote a whole bunch of short stories, and I figured, well, might as well see if I can just get them done. Like find some artists, again, because of the internet, you can find an artist anywhere in the world. And so I just did those, and then I put all these things up on Comixology. There used to be a website called Comic Central that did the same thing, and there's Comic House, which is still around. And so I just put them up digitally, but of course, I want something tangible. That was the end goal. The real goal was to have an actual book you can hold in your hands and stuff, and to go to conventions and meet people and actually go through that whole experience. So that was the plan. My plan was to create a library of material digitally first, and then later on, if I could build an audience through that way, then they would maybe support printing the books and then have an actual physical book that you could give to people and people could read. So that was the plan, and I'm implementing that plan now. So,
So now you've got the Book of Legend. So how did the Book of
yeah.
Legend come to fruition?
So the Book of Legend, these are the short stories that I came up with from that time with, on Mark Millar's website and reading about 2000 AD and how everybody got started. So like the stories in this book, the first 4 stories are in the tradition of the 2000 AD's Future Shocks, which are sci-fi stories. They're like no more than 4 pages, and they'll have like an ironic twist. So it's sort of like a Twilight Zone kind of a feel to them. And then after that, the 5 stories after that, I wanted to focus more on character development, like specific unique characters. And so like that guy that you see in that picture there, and his name is Dogface. That's his nickname. It's sort of like an ironic nickname. But so I came up with what I wanted to do with that was like explore the whole heroic myth through characters that would come from like different eras or different genres. And so he's kind of like a Sergeant Rock, sort of, like the World War II soldier sort of thing, although he actually takes place in the Korean War. Then you got like this sci-fi, sort of like a Blade Runner kind of a thing to it. There's all kinds of there's ninjas there. That's kind of like the 90s sort of, like that Image comic, sort of like hyper violent, all that kind of stuff that came out. We got a story like that. We got that story there, which is sort of, like the Golden Age comics that are obviously based off of the Greek myths and all that kind of thing, like Superman, Wonder Woman. So those characters are kind of like that. So it's just a bunch of different ideas that popped into my head. And I was like, hey, let's just write them. I like to write. I'll sit here and I'll just write. Give me a chance to write. I'll write anything. So I just put them down on paper and banged them out, and found, I think, with some really good artists to put them together. And We just and I put those on Comixology first. It's like two separate anthologies, and they were in black and white. It was called Ashcan Anthology 1 and Ashcan Anthology 2. And then I think about a couple years later, I met a guy on Twitter who goes by the name of Ace Wheelie. And he saw them and he said, "Hey, man, I'd really like to color these." And so, like, I don't really have enough money to pay you to color all of these. And he's like, "Okay, I'll do it for you, but, like at a discount." So he did me a huge favor, did almost the entire book, colored the whole thing at a lot less than he should have charged me. And so the whole thing is all colored. So this printed version has those stories from the digital version, but they're all in full color.
And then the Neotheric, I know one of the things I wanted to mention while I was kind of scrolling through and showing everybody the artwork and, a little bit what some of these stories are about, which of course you guys can go check it out on the Kickstarter, but I wanted you to get a glimpse of the art. One of the things about this is there's only a limited amount of issues that are available of that, because you said there was only originally 100 printed of those.
Yeah, so with that one, I had actually tried to go to Indiegogo. I did an Indiegogo campaign to try to get money to print the book, and that failed. So, I had all the material was done. Everything had been done for a couple of years. I was thinking, well, what am I going to do with this? I'm just going to let this rot, in my computer or what? So I just figured I'll use my tax return money from last year and just print like 100 copies of it. And I try to do something with it, Maybe if I can take it to conventions and if I can take it to conventions or, just do something with it. This was just right before COVID,
Oh, of course.
everything.
You printed all these copies and then COVID happened. You're like, man, there goes that idea. But Neotheric looks freaking awesome. Like, I love this. The Return of the King right here. This is amazing.
Thanks. That is by, so originally the artist was Dave Sims. I'm sorry, Dave Mims. He did some art from Alterna Comics. If maybe people know a book called Scrimshaw. He did the art for that, and I think he's done some other work too. But he originally did the character designs for it and did basically the first 2 issues. Then I had to find someone else, and I found Andre Portilla. He's from Colombia, I think, and he finished off the series, and that art you see is from him. So there's 2 obviously very distinct different art styles in the book, but there was really no way I could avoid that. It's it is what it is. But yeah, so I really only had enough money to reasonably print like 100 copies of it, or else my wife would have stabbed me in my sleep. So I only printed 100 copies of that. So right now I've got I think I have about like 70 something copies left, and it is 96 pages. I think I keep forgetting. I have it written up there, and I keep forgetting what it is. 92 or 96
pages.
96 pages.
Sorry about me blipping out. It wasn't charging. My 10% came up, and I'm like, what is going on? Why isn't that charging? So I backed out for a second. That's why I was spinning. But yeah, it says 96 pages. But guys, definitely check this out too. I mean, this is part of it. I mean, the book's $10 for the Book of Legend. For $20, you get this 96-page graphic novel. And then 6/8 is also available on there. You get the 40-page supernatural horror comic that you were talking about, which was the first story that you put up on, you wrote for Comixology.
Yeah, and that's very limited too. So I only printed about 80 copies of the standard cover, and there was only 15 copies. There's 3 variants. There's only 15 copies of each cover, and few of them are kind of damaged. So it's extremely rare. I think I only have about like 5 copies of the variant covers.
And then last but not least, right here, you have the $2 add-on of your daughter's Agents of Shh, which is great. Shh, I love that. I laugh every time I say that. But Guys, I want to stress it again because there's a lot of you that just joined in. If you back the book for $10, this is available as a $2 add-on. If you back the $30 tier, it comes with this. I believe it's the $30 tier, right?
Yeah, so basically I try to keep things real simple. So there's a PDF version you can get of the Book of Legend. It's $5. Then it's actually $15 for just the book, and that includes shipping. So the book itself, yes, is $10, and then we put in $5 for shipping. So it's $15. Then we have what I call a super fan. So I've got the book plus my daughter's book. You'll get a metal trading card of the cover, just kind of like this one. This is from the 6/8. So I'm doing like these metal cards of all the covers that I do. So later on, I'll have a whole collection of metal cards that have all of the covers that we've ever done. So you get that. You'll get the trading card that comes with my daughter's book. It's like a Pokemon style card. You'll get like this sticker set. There's 8 stickers of the different characters from the book, and these are all this whole set.
Go ahead and hold that up again. Sorry, I gave you a whole solo layout.
Yeah, so maybe hold it up like that. So these are some of the characters from the book. These are the main ones that you see in the last 5 stories. And the other thing I thought of adding was that, so like when you get the backing board for whatever books you order, I thought of something that might be a nice little cool thing, is that I print these things right on the backing board. These are character sketches from some of the different characters, and it contains a backstory and like some explanation about the characters, and this whole thing is only available on this backing board. It's like I don't have this anywhere else. Like it's not in the book. It's not on a website or anything. So it's just like I thought it would be like a cool little extra thing to just give you some background info on like the characters and show some of this character art, these sketches that the artist did that I don't have anywhere else.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's like a comic-sized trading card.
Yeah. So I figured, it'd be cool. So.
But what I wanted to stress, guys, is definitely, please, if you back this, add on a copy of his daughter's book, even if you get the $30 tier, because if you add on this $2 book right here, all proceeds from that will be matched to send to cb4k.org, which you guys know that I'm a huge, huge supporter of. So if you purchase 5 of these books, Michael's going to match that with 5 and send those to CB4K to mail off to hospitals where, critically ill children can have a chance to read this book. You could back 5 of them and say, hey, Michael, I want you to send my 5 plus the 5 you match to Comic Books for Kids. Send them a message in Kickstarter. You guys know how much I believe in Comic Books for Kids, and I think it's awesome of Michael to offer this as, an incentive to, not only help get his daughter's book out there and get some eyes on her work, because it's really great. A 9-year-old has written and drawn and colored her very first comic book, but this book can help some other kids who are sick and in a hospital and critically ill have a moment of joy, see these cool Pokemon cards, and enter into this world of Agents of and then when they get to go home, this could be a gateway for them to get into comic books, because that was something you had mentioned before, which it is a big deal. There's a huge decline in the amount of, why is this thing not working? Come on, do it. There's a huge decline in the the new readership of comic books. Marvel and DC have kind of went stale with their characters. DC's moved to more of an online platform, which makes it not really worth it. Nobody wants to pay $8, $9, $15 for a book that's on their phone, that's now worthless. You read it and you can never do anything with it because it's a digital object. I'm the type of person, I love to have a physical copy in my hand, especially when you get one of these older copies, like this, you got that nice weathered
smell.
Yeah, you get that smell to it. It's like, oh, old comic smell. Gotta love that.
Yeah, I
But
love that.
yeah, I mean, the readership has definitely declined. And that's one of the other cool things about comic books for kids. You know, you got all these kids that are sick in hospitals. They're sick in coloring books, Pez, pop figurines, all kinds of different stuff. But, you know, this is a gateway for these kids, you know, to have something to enjoy. And this could be their out, you know, when they're doing cancer treatments. You know, they may realize they really love comic books and tell their parents, hey, you know, can you go out and get me the next issue of this when it comes out? Or, hey, you know, can you go to the store and buy me a few comics? And this could be a way for them to learn and out to get away from their pain and the suffering that they're in, and introduce them to the awesome world of comics. I mean, at the end of the day, all that matters is bringing, you know, that 15, 20, 30 minutes of joy to a child's life. That's what matters. And I really want to stress, you know, guys, pick up a few copies of that book. If you know that, you know, say you have kids that are in school, you know, have your kids take, you know, buy 10 copies, have them take it to school when the school year starts if you have younger kids, and have them give them out to, you know, the kids there or the classroom, and, you know, have a reading of it. You know, it's $2 for a book. And I think it's totally awesome, you know, that your daughter wrote a book. That's great.
Yeah, yeah, and it's definitely something, you know, as a father that it's become like, you know, it wasn't until I was a father it has become like, you know, very uh, obvious, or that it's you really have to. It's hard to say. It's like to put them on the path of a proper path. You know, that not only are you a provider and a protector, but that you have to guide them to say, okay, like this is the kind of things you should do, and this is all that kind of stuff. And you know, maybe it sounds kind of weird, but we're talking about comic books. But you know, when you put stuff in front of your kids to help them to grow, to expand their mind, and to all this kind of stuff, this is one of the aspects too of being a father. So it's like, yeah, it's comic books, but you know, you just think about yourself. Like when you first got into comic books, or you first read comic books, it wasn't just about the comic books. That also opened up a whole thing about like art, about reading, all this other stuff that it opens up. So yeah, to me, it's not just about the comic books. Like here's a comic book, but it's there's a bigger thing to all of this.
Yeah, it's
That
about opening up the imagination. I mean, when I was a
yeah,
kid and I read comic books, you know, my parents didn't have a lot of money. First time I got a comic book was when I was in fourth grade. I bought it with conduct cash, which was something we got as a reward from the teacher when we were good, or, you know, we got a hundred on our test. We'd get a piece of paper that just said conduct cash. And I was going through the bin one day and I'm like, oh, wow, what's this? It was an Uncanny X-Men. And I can tell you, out of all my comic books, that is the comic book that's in the worst shape. I think all the staples are detached because
yeah,
I read it so many times. But, you know, I didn't have the money. We didn't have a comic shop when I was a kid. After I read that, anytime we'd go to like the dollar store or to the grocery store and they had comic books, I'd always look through and grab one. And you might get like X-Men number 47, and the next one you read is like X-Men 93. So, you
yeah,
know, it was like you had this huge 60 issue gap that you had to fill, and you're like, you could imagine in your mind what happened from here to there. You know, you could make up your own story, and that's what was fun about reading comic books for me when I was a kid, because I didn't get sequential issues. I didn't
yeah,
get, you know, always get to finish the story. So I made up my own endings of what happened, you know,
yeah,
and I started writing my own stories, and that's when I really got into, you know, writing was around third and fourth grade. And then as I got older and I got into, you know, sixth grade, you know, they started giving us these sheets and they're like, all right, color this and then tell us a story about what happened in this picture. And I just, you know, flowed. I turned in this 20-page essay on this story, and all the other kids have like one page. Like, she went to the market, the end, you know, and mine's like, she went with this lion and the lion had magical powers. And I just went, you know, eccentric. And my teacher's like, you should stick with this. And,
yeah,
you know, and then the whole world tells you, no, don't be a comic book artist and writer. Don't be an author. You'll never make a living at that. It's too hard to get into.
yeah,
You know, and it's great because, you know, as a father, you and I are pushing our kids to do this kind of stuff because it helps you grow. It helps you grow your imagination, your creativity. and especially for Roderick. Roderick's really into superheroes. He's really, really into Spider-Man. He loves comic books and the comic book universe. He loves watching the movies and stuff. And with his disabilities of him not being able to do stuff as an adult due to the fact of, the conduit that he has in his heart and stuff, this is something I want to, nurture as he's young, is to unlock his artistic side, because he may not be able to do a heavy labor job. He may not be able to work in a factory where it's hot, because he can't tolerate being hot. We can be outside for 15 minutes with it being 80 degrees and he looks like he's about to just pass out.
Yeah.
And, comic books are something that he's very passionate about. So, that was something, Wendy here in the audience uh, came to me about a week ago and said, "Hey, I'm writing this anthology. How would you like to do a story for it?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah, and it'll be fun to do with the kids." And so, this is going to be one of the first projects the kids and I work on. And Roderick's got an idea of what he wants his first comic book to be in. And I'm going to help him draw it and write it. And we're going to make it and we're going to print it like you are. And,
Yeah.
that's why I love it so much, is because, you have the same idea of, here's this, you can do this. And you can even do this if you get a normal job. You can do this on the side just because you love to do it. And you
Yeah.
can make money doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it also, it gives you independence. I
Yeah.
mean, if you can do something, make something that people like and people want to pay for, then that can give you can be completely independent. It's no different than being a carpenter or plumber or anything else. If you can do something, if you have a skill or something you can do, then you can provide for yourself. And even doing comic books or art or anything, you know, that's this just another option for you. And so, and also, the other thing is that comics aren't really available like they used to be. You used to go to the convenience store, grocery store, or whatever. They were everywhere, and now they're hardly like anywhere. They're only like in comic book stores, and
Yep.
a lot of people don't even know that comic book stores exist. And so this is another way. If you're exposing kids to these books, and they might not even know that they exist, but now when you give it to them, now they all know. Now their parents know. Now the doctors and nurses in the hospital know. It's just more awareness that you're spreading to everybody that's associated with it. And I think
Comic books are
that's,
still alive.
yeah. So I think that's a great thing, a great aspect of it too, is you're just you're showing it to more people. More people will know. It's like, oh man, I didn't know comic books still existed. It's like, yeah,
Well, and the
yeah,
nice thing about too is to me, comic books for kids is a huge, huge deal, because last year you had to think most kids that were in the hospital couldn't have their parents there. There was nobody allowed to visit the hospital. If there was, it was only one person. So you have a lot of kids that are alone at the hospital that
yeah,
want their parents. Their parents can't be there. And so these comic books and these coloring books and all these things that were being handed out at the hospital were a huge deal for these kids, because it filled a void for them that their parents couldn't be there to fill. And, things are kind of like, well, around here, one of my coworkers' dad had open heart surgery, and they wouldn't even allow but one person to be there because the Delta variant's gotten really bad, and so things are starting to go back to the way they were last year. Only one person's allowed at the hospital, and yada yada yada. So it makes comic books for kids such a bigger thing. Not only are you growing the audience, but you're filling a void for kids that are suffering alone, because
yeah,
their family can't be there for them. you
yeah.
know
And that's definitely something. I don't even know how I would, if I would even be able to like deal with something like that if something that happened to my kids. Because I mean, even just like when they get sick, just like
yeah.
normal sick, it's like, oh my god, there's so much like anxiety and stuff rises up. So I don't even know how like you deal with that. So
Well, it was
yeah,
really hard last year because, Roderick, that was a big thing last year that brought me down was, Roderick had a heart appointment in April. They canceled it due to COVID because they just shut everything down. They're like, we're not seeing patients. So we're worried, because Roderick will have to have constant surgeries until he's an adult, and then he'll still have to have them after that. But when they did open back up, they're like, only one person's allowed to go in there. And as a father, it broke my heart because I'm like, I know if Roderick goes in for an open heart surgery, he's going to want his mom to be there. And I'm not going to be able to be there. And I feel like a failure because it's like, I
Yeah.
promised him I'll always be there for everything. I'll take off work no matter what. If he has surgery or an operation, I'll be there for him. And then it was like somebody just came in and said, you don't have the right to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And it just like broke my heart. So I was just like on pins and needles all year last year because I'm like, oh my God, what if he has to have another cardiac cath? What if he has to have another open heart surgery and I'm not going to be able to be there for him? Because a cardiac cath is just as big of a deal because they won't do it unless the open heart surgery room's open in case they burst a vessel because then they'll have to break them open and go in and fix it. And so it's like, people say, oh, cardiac cath is not a big deal. They go in through your leg, and they open things up. But as a child, you got these little bitty vessels that you're like, all right, we're going to try to open this up. We're not sure if we can. And so I was just, a nervous wreck last year because I'm like, it's not right. I don't want to ever have, that right taken away from me to be there for them. So,
Right.
as a father, knowing that, what that feeling is, I can only imagine what the child feels. And so, that just made me believe so much more in what they do and why
Yeah.
I'm such an advocate for them. Because even as a parent, it gives you solace. It gives us, 15, 30 minutes to sit back and be there for each other while your child's entertained and they're not thinking about their pain or what they're going through. So it helps everyone out, not just the
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah. Well, and definitely one thing that I've noticed with the young kids is that a lot of times all they want is just for you to be there with them. It's like you don't have to necessarily do anything or say anything. If they just want to be with you. That's something that's very important to them. And like, with my wife working, my son is only 4 years old, and my wife is working now full time, and she's also trying to go to school now in the fall. So she's not spending as much time with him, and I can see that very clearly that it's affecting him. And a lot of times when they want to do stuff, they're like they just want to watch a movie, and I was like, okay, you guys go ahead and watch. I got work to do and all this kind of stuff I need to do. And they're like, well, don't you want to watch it with us? And I was, oh, okay, so- but that's all it is they just want to spend time with you. And as an adult, you're just going through your day and just trying to go from day to day, and you don't really necessarily think about these things until it's kind of like smacks you in the face. And you're like, hey, your kids just want to spend time with you. It's like, oh yeah, that's what I need to do because they're never going to be this young again. You're never going to have this time again.
Yeah, then they
So
turn into teenagers
yeah,
and they're like, leave me alone,
like
Dad. It's my life.
yeah,
Get out of here.
I'm 13. I do what I want.
I do what I want. I'm moving out. I'm done with
Yeah,
you.
yeah. So
So I want to like we got off on a tangent on the whole thing. So like what is your one collection? What is your favorite comic that you like to read? Like it's your just like one go to series that you could read a million times and
well, I don't have it anymore because when I moved to China, I sort of gifted my comic book collection to my nephew, my sister's son. So he still has them. But, like I was saying before, I grew up on G.I. Joe. And I think G.I. Joe Silent Interlude number 21, that to me is like the greatest single comic book ever. Because there's no words in it. It's just a completely silent book, no dialogue. And it's just so beautiful. And it's got ninjas. How can you beat that, But no, seriously, I think it's an awesome book. If anybody's never seen it, definitely try to get it. I also think there was like I think it's a 6-part Spider-Man by Jan Dematteis and Mike Zeck. It was the Craven's Last Hunt, and I just recently got that in the trade paperback. I think that to me is better than Watchmen or Dark Knight. It's an awesome little mini story about Craven, and he's like he tries to basically he captures Peter Parker and buries him in a grave, and then he replaces him, goes out, pretends to be Spider-Man, and it's all this. It's just it's it's not the typical superhero story, and that was one thing. It's like it blew my mind. Just like the GI Joe issue, it's like these things were showed me that comic books could be so much more than just people flying around punching each other or whatever. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that there's a whole nother level that you could go with it. That it's like a serious medium. It can be just like film or TV or anything else. It doesn't have to just be like something like for little kids to, whatever. So I think those two specific ones kind of like really changed the way that I saw comic books, and from being a little kid to maturing a little bit with them.
So with you saying GI Joe being one of your favorites, and that's the second time you're like it's got ninjas, and you're so like
Yeah.
you're like super, focused on ninjas.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the new Snake Eye movie coming out?
I haven't seen it. It looks like crap, and I've heard that it's crap. Yeah. So I may watch it one day on Redbox. Get one of those Redbox discs and get it. But yeah, I'm not good. It just does not look good.
No,
I mean, it's
I
just
agree. From the trailers and stuff, it looks really corny and like, it's a huge character and they're looking for a payout and there wasn't much thought put into it.
yeah,
Especially since it was birthed during, COVID, that they somehow managed to finish this movie and get this movie put together. So that added into it makes you wonder about the quality of the video.
yeah. I mean, I don't understand this whole thing with they're like they take a property, established property that people have loved for a long time, and they love it for very specific reasons. Okay, let's make that and let's change everything about it. It's like, why? If you want to make an action movie with ninjas or whatever, then just do it. Have nothing to do with GI Joe and Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow and all that kind of stuff, or Ghostbusters. Why do you make another Ghostbusters and then change everything about it that everybody loved about it? There was a reason why they loved it. It's because of these elements were in it. So let's take all of those elements and throw them in the trash and then make a new one. You think people like that? Shocker, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like Transformers. When Michael Bay did all the Transformer movies, like I think 90% of Transformers fans stopped believing in the
Yeah,
property anymore. I mean, if you sit and you watch the movies on the level of I'm just here to watch the movie, and this has nothing to do with the Transformers universe.
yeah,
They're pretty decent movies for the most part. They're a great time filler, and I'm not going to say the movies were horrible, but as a fan, it's just crazy, to see somebody take the property and go a totally different direction with it. I haven't seen Masters of the Universe yet, but I've just been laughing for the
another one.
last week. About all the people fighting back and forth over, oh, Masters of the Universe, it's terrible. They screwed it up. And then you got somebody else that's like, I loved it. What's wrong with you?
Yeah,
Go back and watch the original. And I'm like, I don't even want to watch this because I don't want to make any comment about this until all this
yeah,
blows over.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. It's just, but yeah,
Well, I mean, and Loki, Loki, that's another one that, everybody loved WandaVision, everybody loved Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and then Loki came out, and I thought it was pretty decent. And then like 90, I'm like in like the 1 percentile, I think, that actually liked it.
yeah,
I was like, I don't ever watch any show like when the episode comes out, like even The Mandalorian. I was like,
yeah,
I'll wait until a couple of them are out and then I'll watch them. Plus, I was busy, with this and trying to get this Kickstarter fulfilled, and I was running a Kickstarter, and I was writing and getting art and doing this and running around, so I didn't have time to watch it. But like Loki, I was like, I got home and I sat down. I was like, oh, it's Wednesday. I turned the TV on and I turned Loki on. I was like, yes, it's the new episode. What happens, And I thought it was really good. And I think I've talked to like one other person that liked it, and everybody else is like, you liked Loki? There's something wrong with you. And I'm like, I'm not looking at it like, it follows somewhat to the story in the comics, but it somebody else wrote that comic. You got
Yeah.
their take on what they meant by their words. Somebody else read that comic and did their own interpretation of it, and now you have a TV show. I mean, it's just like my book. If somebody else were to produce a movie all based on this book, it's going to be different in a lot of ways because they may interpret my words in some totally different from what I was meaning. And so, 10 people could read this book and everybody could interpret it in a different way. And that's what
Yeah.
happens when people make movies. And people need to stop bitching about it so much and step back and go, this is this person's interpretation. Their interpretation sucked or it was really good. I
Mhm.
mean, they're not who's going to go watch something that was exactly like the original? I
Yeah.
mean, if you've read it 30 times, why watch a movie on it? Okay, they're just doing exactly the story you already know. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the way I look at movies when I go and watch them. I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
this is somebody else's interpretation of this story. I either like it or I don't. So I don't know. I thought Loki
Yeah.
was great.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. The only one I saw was WandaVision. We saw that. I thought that was really cool. I mean, I like the general vibe of it. It was kind of like a Twin Peaks sort of weird feeling to it. And I love Twin Peaks. I love David Lynch kind of stuff. Things that are like really weird and make you think about like what the hell's going on here. So for the most part, I liked it. There was definitely some things I didn't really like about it. Um, but yeah, it's like there's like a certain amount of interpretation that you can do until it becomes just something that's totally different. That's has nothing to do with it. Like if I said, "Hey, I'm gonna make a Batman movie, except this time he's gonna be an actual bat," and then and he's not gonna fight crime.
Wait a minute,
He's
they
gonna
already did that. It's Man Bat.
he's not gonna fight crime. He's gonna have like a food truck. And he's just gonna ride around selling people food, tacos and stuff.
I got enchiladas, man.
Yeah, the roach coach. It's like, well,
Roach.
that's not Batman. He's like, well, that's my interpretation of Batman. Well, that's a little far off.
Well,
You've taken a bus and you've had like 5 different transfers, and now you're like 5 miles away. So I understand the whole thing. I mean, obviously, because like another thing I love was Robotech growing up. I don't know if you know about
yeah.
Robotech,
Yeah, I've got the
but
entire Robotech comic,
yeah.
all the
Oh
manual.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I could never find the comics, but I used to
I managed
record
to
it.
buy the entire run from a
Wow.
comic auction. Nobody else bid on them. It was like Robotech issue 1 through like I want to say there's 41 issues. It was the whatever the entire run was, 1 through
Yeah.
36 or 41, whatever it was, and they were all like pristine, like all brand new.
Wow.
And I got them all for like $40. I got them for like $1 an issue. I'm like, hell
Wow.
yeah, I want Robotech. I want them all. I'm like $40.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is anybody else going to bid on them? They're like, all right, they're yours for $40. I was like, did I really just win the entire Robotech series for $40? And when it came, it was huge because they're not small. I mean, they're
Yeah.
almost magazine size because
Yeah.
they're the manga style comics, and they're thick too. They're like this thick each. It's
Yeah.
like 3 comics in one. I'm like, oh, it's going to take me forever to read
Yeah.
these.
The ones from Comico,
What's that?
the ones from Comico, the Comico did.
I don't know what they're from. I don't even know what I did with them. I think they're in here. I've been
Yeah.
sorting. Dude, my comics are a freaking disaster because I've been packing Kickstarter stuff, and so
Yeah.
I've been saving the packing material from every Kickstarter, every delivery of books or graded books that I get, the packing peanuts, the bubble wrap, and all that. I was
Yeah.
saving in boxes. Well, as I was packing, because I'm like, I don't want to throw this stuff away. I want to repurpose it. I want to be
Yeah.
green in some way instead of throwing the stuff in the garbage. Bubble wrap doesn't go bad. Once it's been
Yeah.
shipped, you can reship it again. So, like, I tore all these boxes out. So there's like empty boxes laying everywhere I have to break down. But we've been busy. My wife got hit head on by a drunk driver. So, a lot of the time, the last couple of weeks, we've been trying to find a different vehicle. And so we've been out vehicle shopping and, the kids and has got stuff going on. And then, like I said, I just got done shipping off. So now I got to go through, I've like 15 Kickstarters I've gotten that are just stacked up. I haven't even opened. like Fire Bitch 2, Belial 2, Beast King, Savage Sasquatch. Belial
Yeah.
2 was like 2 months ago. I think I got it, and I haven't even opened it. But it's a mess. So I got all this stuff to go through. But yeah,
Mhm.
Robotech's really cool. Sorry, I didn't mean to go off
Yeah.
on a tangent.
That's all right. But yeah, I mean, there's been several different versions of Robotech. Basically, they come out with different OVAs and all this stuff on different takes on it. And it's like for that stuff, it's fine because the core of the idea is still there. They don't really totally change something like some of these other things, like the like Snake Eyes stuff. And for me, that stuff's obviously fine. I mean, I would love to do my version of GI Joe. So it's in my head, it's right here. I know exactly what I would do, and I would change a few things. It would be a slightly different story, but the skeleton of it was still the same thing, still there. So I think there's a certain amount that you can play with before you basically create something that's totally unrelated to it.
Well, I mean, it's like Full Metal Alchemist. I like manga and anime and stuff.
Yeah,
I'm a watch quite a few animes. Full Metal Alchemist is one of my favorite ones. And watching the original series, they passed up the manga, and the writer of the manga had stopped, and so they just continued on the story and went with their own direction of it. And I
yeah,
really enjoyed it. Well, then Brotherhood came out that followed along closer to the manga, and I watched Brotherhood. And I love them both. There's a lot of people on the fence that hate the first one, and then there's people that hate Brotherhood. And it's like, it's really cool to see somebody else go off on their own tangent, and then you watch the Brotherhood and you read the manga, and it's like to see how closely actually this person followed. And it was really weird because Brotherhood had more of like a Christianity religion based core to it. Like it was heaven and hell. You had the sins, and you doing this, you're going to go to hell, and if you don't, if you do good, you're not going to go to hell. Whereas like the original one didn't really have that religious element to it, so it was kind of
yeah,
weird watching Brotherhood and see them, the actual interpretation originally that was supposed to be of it. But one of the things I like doing is I keep trying to backpedal to this is like Ready Player One. I watched that movie. I really enjoyed the movie, but I've never read the book. And that's a lot of the fun thing too about seeing some of these movies is you find out about stuff that you never even knew existed. And so now
yeah,
that's one of my on my to-do list is to purchase a copy of Ready Player One and read the book and see, what I think about the book because I like the movie and I know a lot of people hated it, but the people that seen it said it was different from the book, which once you see the movie you understand why, because there's so many intellectual properties that were
yeah,
brought into the world that they couldn't really afford to pay for all these different things. Because watching the movie and all the different stuff, you got Halo and you've got Robotech and you've got not Robotech, Evangelon, uh,
Iron
Mario.
Giant.
What's that?
Is it Iron Giant in there?
Iron Giant, yeah.
Uh,
So there's like I think in the final battle scene, there's probably like 800 intellectual properties just in one scene alone, and it's like they even had Chucky. I have never laughed so hard in my entire life watching. I rewound it and watched it like 8 times when he throws Chucky out the window. And it pans to that guy, and he's holding the controllers. He's like, "It's fucking Chucky!" I was laughing so hard. I was like, that is the funniest thing I have ever seen. I was telling my friend about it. He's like, I don't remember that being in the movie, so I recorded it. It gave me another reason to rewind it and watch it again. I recorded it and sent it to him. He was like, oh, yeah, that's the scene that you were talking about. Oh,
yeah,
it was pretty funny.
yeah. I've never seen that. I may
Oh, you've
check
never
that
seen it?
out. No.
I thought it was really good. There was a few scenes they changed in the book just because of like one of the Stephen King scenes. They said it was really hard to make it interesting to do off the story they based it on, because I really don't know. I've never read the book, so I don't know what the original story that they based it on. But they changed the Stephen King story to another Stephen King story, and I don't really want to ruin anything, but they made it more interesting on what the players had to do to get the
Yeah,
key. I thought it was really good. I enjoyed it. I
yeah.
enjoyed it a lot. So you should definitely check it out. I think it was
Okay,
on
yeah.
what was it on? I think it's on HBO.
Yeah, we got that HBO Max thing.
Yeah,
came with our internet
AT&T.
bundle thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I got. I think it's on HBO. I think that's what I watched tonight because I was like, oh my gosh, this is on here. I've been wanting to see this. I'm like, we don't even hardly, rent stuff at Redbox. It gets
Yeah.
too expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
But
another good example of this is The Crow.
hmm
I don't know if you're familiar with that. Like, I had heard about The Crow when it was, a comic, but I could never find a copy of it. Just like on living on out in Arizona or something on a military base, it's kind of hard to get stuff. Um,
what did I do with that? Oh, what the heck?
uh-oh, something happened.
Well, apparently I lost it. I was going to say you were talking about it, and I actually have it out, but I moved
Right.
it. I was going to show it to you. Yeah, no, I've got the. You can get the collection of it. It's like $30. I was going to show it to you, and it's got the entire comic collection. But I can't. What the?
Yeah, I used to have it. I used to have the graphic novel. I got it much later, and but so like I had heard about The Crow, but I
Uh
could
huh.
never find it when it originally came out in the floppies. But then when I saw the movie, I was like, I loved that movie. It was a huge deal for me. And but then later, so then I sought out the graphic novel because obviously the movie came out. So then they start printing out the graphic novel, and obviously the book and the movie are completely different. There's totally different feel to them and everything. But I think they're both excellent in their individual way that they present the story. So again, that's like it's an interpretation of it, but it still had the same basic core. It had the same basic ideas, so it still worked. It wasn't like it didn't offensive to like the original material, but
And
it
how
definitely was
crazy is
different.
that too? The accident that happened in the movie.
Yeah, yeah. That is it's just really weird. It's almost like it's not real. It's almost like it's a movie itself. It's like, okay, we're gonna make a movie, and then the guy who's in the movie gets killed, but he was the son of a very famous guy who also died under mysterious circumstances. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. Nobody's gonna believe that.
I mean, I was trying to look up and see what year that came out. Yeah, it came out in 1994. So I was
Yeah,
9 when I seen it because I seen it at the theaters and I loved it. And I never knew there was a comic book that it was based on until I got
yeah,
the graphic novel of it. And the graphic novel is really good, and I love it too
yeah,
because it's all in black and white.
yeah.
94, man, that is insane that it's been that long ago. It's 27 years ago.
Yeah.
Jesus.
It's amazing. I'm
Wow.
amazed like how old I am, how much time has passed. I can still remember kindergarten, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe. Or like, I remember going to see Ghostbusters, the original Ghostbusters at the theater, or
Well,
even
me.
Return of the Jedi. I remember going to see Return of the Jedi, and there was like had to wait for like an hour out in the hall outside the theater, and it was just packed. Oh my God, it must have been like 300 people or something. And then we went in, we sat down, and before the movie started, they had one guy came down in costume and Luke Skywalker, and the other guy came down in costume as Darth Vader. And they came down on both sides of the aisles, and they went to the center and they started fighting. And I was yelling for Darth Vader because I hated Luke Skywalker. He was so annoying. But I still remember that. I just remember it like it was yesterday. And what it was like 40 something years ago.
Well, I mean, it's just even the first Mortal Kombat that came out. That's the other one I was looking up because I already forgot when I looked it up a couple weeks ago. It came out in '95.
Wow.
I know, and I seen that in theater too. With my
Yeah,
parents, and I remember coming out of there, and I was like doing all the moves and stuff.
yeah,
Trying to
exactly.
shoot fireballs out of my hands, and it's like And then Annihilation came out, and it was it was such a horrible movie, but it's still fun to watch. But it's like I look at this and I'm like, holy crap, how has it been, you know, 26 years since this movie came out? Where did all the time go, from now and then?
Yeah.
But I still remember going and seeing that in the movies and just being so excited that, because, when I was a kid and when you were a kid, or when you were younger growing up, you would go to Pizza Hut with your parents back when they would come to you and they would serve you the first slice.
Yeah.
And they had the arcade set up in there, and that was always the game that they had. Was they had a pinball machine, whatever the newest rave was, whether it was The Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi, or they had the Terminator 2 Rise of the Machines, which is another one of my favorite tables. And they always had Mortal Kombat. And I don't know how many quarters I would sink into Mortal Kombat. I would just be over there smashing trying to beat freaking Shao Kahn. And I'm like, damn it, I spent $2 in freaking quarters for one battle and I could never beat it. And then, the Super Nintendo comes out and you can start playing at home. And I'm like, heck yeah. I want Mortal Kombat. And what was the other one? Clay Fighter. That was the other one. That one was that one was awesome too. My dad's like, "What are you playing? That is violent." I'm like, "It's Clay Fighter. It's just clay. Chill out."
It's not real.
It's not real. Yeah, our Killer
we
Instinct.
had a Genesis, so.
Yeah, that's what I had too.
I remember the first time I saw Mortal Kombat. We were in the mall in Augusta, Georgia. Me and my brother. Back in the days in the mall, your parents would just drop you off. You stay there the whole damn day, and you basically lived in the mall. And I remember we were walking past the arcade, and I heard Liu Kang. He goes, "What?" I was like, "Was that Bruce Lee?" And I turned and I looked, and the guy was playing as Liu Kang, and I was like, "That's a Bruce Lee. It looks just like Bruce Lee. Was this a video game with Bruce Lee?" And so, yeah, and then later on, we would come back, and they had like a special thing. If you went on Tuesdays, that you could play like 1 quarter, and you could play all day, all that. And on Dragon's Lair too, we had that too.
Dragon's Lair, yep.
We used to just go all the time to the arcade. The arcade was such a big deal,
Yeah,
Man.
they tore. So Crestwood Mall used to be my stomping grounds when I was a kid. Our parents would go there, and they had their downstairs was where like security was.
Yeah.
And then right across from security, it was like all underground. It was the arcade. It was called Tilt.
Yeah.
And man, I loved it because, you had skee ball, you had Dragon's Lair, you had the one of my favorite light gun shooters of all time, Area 51. Like I loved Area 51. And then they had Rampage World Tour, and that was a fun game as well. And then Mortal Kombat, of course. But it was awesome. You could go in there with like $10 and you could play for like 8 hours. And now it's gone. They leveled the mall. It's just earth now. They went through. They tore everything down. They hauled it all off and they leveled. It's just a big mound of dirt now, where the mall used to be. And it's just sad driving by there. It's like, that's my childhood. You guys just wiped it out. And like we don't have any arcades around us anymore. One of our movie theaters, Ronnie's up on it's a Warenberg or whatever. I think Warenberg got bought out, so whatever it is now, Regal or whatever, they have an arcade in there, and it's and then of Dave and Buster's, but that ain't even an arcade anymore. You go in there now, you get a plastic card and you swipe it, and it takes like $3 off of your card. And you play for 5 minutes and you lose your life, and it's like, continue, and I'm like, hell no, that's like another $3. I'm gonna play something else. Now I've gravitated to the coin games. I'm really good at those. The coin.
Oh, yeah. Oops. Looks like someone dropped out. Am I here by myself? Uh-oh. Okay. There he is, coming back on.
Apologies. I forgot to tell you that StreamYard has had a glitch for the last month and a half now that they need to fix. It kicks me out at exactly between an hour and 10 and an hour and 20 minutes. And I don't get it. It does it every freaking show. And this is the second time I forgot to tell the guests.
It only kicks you out?
Yeah, it kicks me out. Like, it's like, bye. I'm like,
wow.
I don't know why. But anyway, now I've gravitated to coin pushers. Those are my new thing to do. Like I'll be sitting there and tickets will be flowing out like Niagara Falls. I'm like, yeah, buddy. we're gonna get the kids some cool stuff. And then they go in there and they're like us when we were kids. They want the freaking sticky hand that you
Yeah.
we can stick. I'm like, you don't want this really cool Nerf blaster? You know, we've got
Yeah.
like 10,000 tickets. No, I want a sticky hand, some silly putty, and some now and laters.
And those little sweeties or whatever, sweet thing.
Yeah, sweet tarts. Yeah.
Yeah, sweet tarts. I love that stuff. Yeah, when I was in China, they had those arcade stuff like that too, and we would go there sometimes, and those little things that you push the coins off, and you're sitting there. Oh, I almost got it! I almost got it! I just need to put 100 more coins in here, and I'll get 2 coins out. You know.
Man,
But,
China's got some real. China and Japan have some really sweet ass arcade games because all of them have like figurines and stuff you can get in them.
Yeah.
Like I can't think of it's something plush. It's one of the YouTube channels that I like to watch. It's something plush, but they go to those arcades and they play them, and you can get some really sweet. Like they have anime and manga and comic characters, Dragon Ball Z,
Yeah.
pretty much everything, and they're like the real expensive figurines that are like 50, $60. Then you play them, and you can try to knock them off, and they go
Yeah.
down in the chute. I'm like, man, I wish we had stuff like that. Like you go to ours and it's got like some stupid keychain hanging on it, and like you can win like this stuffed animal that only is stuffed 20% of the way. It's like we couldn't even stuff it all the way. It's so cheap. It's only we put more air than stuffing in it.
Yeah. It's like stuff you can buy at a dollar store.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like, why am I spending all this money to get this thing? I could just go next door to the dollar store and get it for $1.
Yeah, I keep getting suckered now when we go to Walmart because my kids are at the age they see those claw machines, and those are such a ripoff. Like I can't ever win anything. Like I see people playing them, and I'm like, how do you guys do that? I'll go and I'll do the same thing, and it's like, boop, you lose.
Yeah. We went to Pigeon Forge a couple of weeks ago, and that's big. They got arcades and all that kind of stuff there. My wife is always trying to get me to play that stupid claw thing. I'm like, you can't win. They design it so the thing is super weak. The springs, as soon as you pull it up, it's just gonna fall right out. And she's like, you can try it. You can do it. You can do it. Just wasting money.
Well, man, I am going to give you the big screen. I'm going to give you a chance to give everybody the elevator pitch once again for Book of Legend. Tell them where they can find you. I'm going to pop the links back into the comments. And like I said, give them the elevator pitch of the story, if you would.
All right, everybody. I appreciate it. So basically what we have here, Book of Legend, is a 52-page anthology. It's completed. It's ready to print. We're just trying to get money to do a short print run. So there's 9 stories in there. And basically, if you think about it, where did a lot of the characters that you love now come from? Like Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, Judge Dredd. They all started in anthologies. So this could be the start of characters that can go on to be, something that we can keep going with, and you'll enjoy them and have more books. And then, but we need your support for sure. So you can find me on Facebook at Rainy Road Comics on Facebook. On the web, it's rainyroadmedia.com. I do a newsletter, like usually at least once a month, sometimes twice a month, where I show like some upcoming projects, some behind the scenes info, a lot of like character sketches, all that kind of stuff. It would be great if people would support that. Then I could reach you directly, tell you about all the cool projects. And with Book of Legend and all these first 6, 8 that I had before, the whole purpose of this is to build a foundation for we can do future projects. I've got a lot of stuff I want to do later on, a lot of great, cool things that I think you'll enjoy. But we need this support right now to build that. So I would really appreciate it if you would go check it out and consider backing it. And like you mentioned before, we really want to help out this charity. I think this is a great charity for kids. And so that's another aspect to it. If you would be willing to add on my daughter's book, she would be overjoyed if people got the book, just because she made it. She wants people to read it, and just like me, I made books and I want people to read them. So if you can check it out, I would really appreciate it. And we got until August 6th. That's this Friday at about 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time when the campaign will end.
Well, Michael, thanks so much for being on tonight. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun talking to you, and I really appreciate everything you're doing for CB4K. It's a huge deal to me, and it hits near and dear to my heart. I'm super excited for this auction coming up on Friday. I'm ecstatic. I can't wait to get the paintings in and then take pictures of them and share them out everywhere and show all the cool stuff that people are going to be able to purchase for that. So once again, I want to thank you for donating the art and the book for the auction, as well as thank you so much for opening up your heart to sick kids and children in hospitals everywhere, and doing this matching donation. It really means a lot to the kids. They
Well, I
really do
appreciate you
appreciate it.
giving me the chance to do that because I mean, this is definitely a charity. Now that I know about it, I'm aware of it. I will definitely support it 100% from now on. Everything we do, we'll keep going with. It's not just this one time.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, I'm going to kick you back to the green room if you want to hang out for a second. I will be right back, sir.
Sure. See ya, everybody.
Guys, thanks so much for being here tonight. Thank you so much for watching the show. Thanks so much for supporting indie creators. And though for those of you that watch this back tomorrow or later on, we appreciate you as well. Thank you so much for being a supporter and watching the show. Definitely, please check out Book of Legend. It looks really cool. The artwork's really great on it. And on top of it, you can get the Neotheric and the 6/8 comic. And you can get that Agents of help out a 9-year-old, boost their ego, give them a reason to want to keep creating, give them a reason to want to grow up and do this and light that fire, help them out. And in doing so and adding that book onto your campaign, not only are you helping her and lighting that fire of inspiration and creation, you're also going to help out kids that are critically ill in hospitals, because they are going to donate a book for every book that's sold as an add-on to cb4k.org for them to distribute to hospitals everywhere. So you're doing two great things. You're helping a young creator and you're helping sick kids in hospitals. And for $2, that's one of the greatest things you could ever do. So guys, please check out the project. Please add on those books. Add 5 on, add 10 on. Tell Michael you want to donate the copies you've bought with the copies that he's matching if you want to. Just help them out. But guys, thanks so much for watching. Please come to that auction Friday, August 6th at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. I will be auctioning off the 4 paintings from Michael's daughter, as well as the book. It will be a full collection that you can purchase, and this will be a collection from a young creator that may go on to do greater things. So these one day could be worth something, or they could be just be worth something to you as sentimental value, knowing that you helped out a 9-year-old and that you uh, help support a great charity organization. We're going to have original art. We're going to have all kinds of cool stuff. The Tuesday show with Dory Jones. She's going to have a painting and backdoor access to her website and access to all of her books on her website. That is going to be up for auction. We've got original art. We've got the book proof of my book and much more cool stuff that's going to come. So please come hang out with us. Please help us raise a good amount of money. I'm super excited about this and I can't wait for it. Guys, thank you so much for being here once again. This is Russ Explode Studios with projects that will blow your mind. You guys have a great night and a great week. And I will see you on Tuesday with Dory.